Welcome to Before Floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. I'm here with Timothy Bain, Brady Hawk, and Sean Rochester is actually at Barclays Center, countering. I guess there might be two Nets fans there, so he'll cut that. Maybe not. We are sponsored, as always, by our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and of the Miami Marlins, although they may be more proud of their association with us. You can find it at FTX Arena at the 100 level and at the 300 level. They got the kiosks there. They're always full. Biscayne Bay Brew. You can also get it at Winn-Dixie, at Whole Foods, at our local restaurants like Quarterdeck. You can go online at BiscayneBayBrew.com, and you can find all of the other places that you can get at the Tropical Bay IPA, the Marlins Lager, and all of their other great beers. We're also sponsored by our friend Mark Brown, MARC, BrownPA.com. Go to Mark Brown if you're looking for an estate plan. He's based in North Lauderdale, just north of Cypress Creek Boulevard off of Andrews, and Mark is the man with the plan. Basically, if you're young with a family, which we know a lot of people who watch our programming are, you need to take care of them now. Make sure your money is going to the right place if anything happens to you. You don't want to go to the wrong place, and he'll help you fill out all the forms. It's reasonably priced, and he's got a great small office there. He also has a title company in-house, so he can help you with divesting real estate or anything else that you need to do. So go to markbrownpa.com. There's the website I was looking for, 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678. I'll actually run into Mark at the Heat game on Saturday. He's going to be there for the Sixer games. Maybe you can come say hello to both of us. All right, let's get to it tonight. Different crew tonight. Ramlakan, Ricky J. Mark, and Greg are off. Greg will probably be back on the pod with me tonight. The most important thing today, and then we'll sort of do the autopsy on last night. Brady, who's in, who's out?
Yeah, it's a big injury report for this one, obviously. Kyle Lowry's still out due to personal reasons. Jimmy Butler with that left big toe, really specific. And PJ Tucker's out as well. So Caleb Martin and Max Strus were warming up with the intention to play. The bench is just very scarce. So I'd expect Gabe, Duncan, probably Strus, Caleb, and Bam to start. You got Hero Deadman off the bench. Do you go big against this team with Yurtseven? If not, you have Kyle Guy, Smart. I know they brought up Highsmith. Like, there's just a very low options on this bench, and against the matchup that we were talking about before, saying you can take care of Brooklyn because Brooklyn has a pretty, not a great bench overall, that you could take care of that. That kind of flipped with the new injury report.
Yeah, and of course, no Kyrie because this game is in Brooklyn. And no Ben Simmons because we don't know if he's ever going to play again. Sean, again, you're there with all the Nets fans flooding the house. It's always a rush to get in over at Barclays Center. They just get off that subway stop, and it's crowds of humanity. Nets fans, Mike Jaminski fans, O'Koren fans from way back. But Sean, what do you expect the environment like to be tonight? Because Durant is back. It's been 22 games, and he's a top 3 player in the world.
Yeah, it's obviously an interesting thing with the injury report. I'm glad I got street parking because if I didn't get street parking, the cost of coming up here would be disappointing. But you know what? It's one of those things where we've had those games where we've stepped up and our bench has done a good job. So see what happens. Put these young guys in the positions where they're not used to, and let's hope for the best.
Well, here's the thing about it, Timmy. You look at last night, and what the Heat did well was shoot the 3 ball. And those guys are playing tonight. Max is playing, it appears. And Sean's been reporting that he's been out on the floor. Duncan is playing. I predicted a big Duncan game last night. We got it. Gabe Vincent is playing. Tyler Hero is playing. They have shooters tonight, and they've got Bam. Like, you would figure those things together would be enough to at least compete tonight. I guess the question becomes, who guards KD? Because I don't really see anybody on this roster. It's supposed to be PJ or Jimmy or somebody along those lines. Is it going to have to be Bam now?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be Bam and Caleb, and that's it. No one on that bench. Poor Highsmith is going to have to guard KD as a 2-way. But I do think we can compete. Bam and shooters. It's basically going to be the recipe tonight. Bam and shooters. I look forward to a competitive game. KD might have some rest, but really and truly, KD's one of the top 3 players. He's not going to have rest. He's going to maybe drop like 40 points in this team. But I still expect a close game and maybe even a Heat win. And I expect the guys to be back for Saturday for the Big Sixers game.
So, like we talk about, they've had to adjust to all kinds of different lineup combinations this year, Brady. This doesn't seem like the worst one, other than the inability to have somebody who can guard Kevin Durant. But Durant has no minutes restriction tonight, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
They're throwing him right back out there. But who else concerns you on that team with who the Heat have and who they're missing?
Maybe Cam Thomas, because I feel like Hero and him can match things off the bench, but I just feel like he's just the type of scorer that can go off. But I do want to pivot here really quickly and say that it might be a bold prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see an Omer Yurtseven start. Like, if we're saying that about finding a person to guard Kevin Durant, this is a smaller team, but when looking at the bench unit they have, you're not playing Yurtseven and Dedmon together. And if we were talking about the only defender they really have for Kevin Durant is Bam, I don't think it's the worst thing in this matchup to play Bam at the 4. Just a thought, because Caleb playing the 4, and he could do so many things with his length, but it's just going to be a tough matchup to put him and Kevin Durant. So I don't think that's crazy to say, and then possibly moving Strus down to the bench could add some scoring. But overall, it feels like Cam Thomas, and if I have to throw another guy out there, Goran Dragic, he seems like he could be a killer against the Heat team. So that seems likely.
The collective psyche of Heat fans tonight, Sean, if after what happened last
Teetering.
Right, when they could have used a ball handler probably at the end of the game, who could have gotten them into offense and maybe not tried to split a double team, or could have thrown an inbounds pass. And then tonight, if that guy like scores 17 against them off the bench in a loss with Jimmy sitting, I mean, Heat Twitter is going to burn to the ground to see. I mean, there's not going to be a hell of a lot of perspective and nuance going on.
No, I mean, I think I'll be thankful that I'll have to be driving back, so I won't have to witness all the carnage that will happen for those hour and a half or 2 hours. But no, you know what, man? Like, last night, you have to let that go. I actually caught the replay when I got here at a bar before I stepped in here, and it still hurts. You keep watching the score, knowing what's going to happen at the end of the movie, and it's like, how did we lose this game? You know what? It's one game. We're still in first. We still have the second best point differential. I think you got to let it go and see what happens tonight, or get ready for Philly on Saturday.
Well, the good news tonight, Timmy, is that Jimmy can't shoot a 3, so he's not going to dip below 18% tonight. I did think that the Twitter discourse today, as it tends to do, swung so far the other direction. We've gone from, Jimmy Butler, Jim VP, to all of a sudden Jimmy can't be the 5th best player on a contending team. That's sort of where it was trending today.
Jimmy Simmons, Draymond,
Trilly. Yeah. Okay. Draymond, Simmons, and all the rest of that. But I mean, for some perspective here, I mean, I do think that there's a problem. I mean, against a certain team, I went through the numbers today. And again, some of this is even pre-Giannis. Okay. So you can't, Jimmy's points per game. I put this on, by the way, I put this on Winnow today, which you guys should check that out. That is Off the Floor. That's our exclusive feed. We've been putting stuff on there all day. Me, Brady, Alex, and Greg. And it's just $3.05 a month, and actually doesn't even cost you anything until next week. So check it out when we put on Twitter. I'm going to do a contest here before the end. You're going to have to be subscribed to that if you want to win. But I put it on there today. Jimmy Butler's points per game career-wise against the Milwaukee Bucks are 28th. In terms of his points per game against the other 29 teams. He has not typically, and he shoots under 42%. He has not typically played well against the Milwaukee Bucks. And by the way, that didn't include last postseason where he got outscored by Bryn Forbes. If you throw that in the mix, it's his worst. Seriously, he plays worse against Milwaukee. He averages 27 against the Bulls since he left. He averages less than 14 against Milwaukee. So there is something to be concerned about there. But I guess I'll go to both of you guys, Brady and Tim. I mean, should we draw any sweeping conclusions off last night when it comes to Jimmy Butler? Or is this just a bad game against a team he tends to struggle against?
I think it could be said that, like, you don't have to sway one way or the other. Like, it's like we can sit here and say that it's not a great matchup for him because of the length they could throw at him, crowding the paint. All that stuff can be said. But opinions can change. If he's getting to the line at a decent level, last night doesn't look as bad. Like, yeah, if you're looking at a box score, 2 for 14 looks bad. But if he's getting to the line consistently, he's drawing the fouls. 27-12 as a team is just a wild number to see, especially in the Heat's not in the Heat's favor, because we've seen that so many times. It is one game. I think the late game offense is something to monitor. But in terms of Jimmy Butler, I'm not as worried about Jimmy solely as I am the late game offense with Jimmy. I feel like Jimmy can figure it out. I think the big thing is getting Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals because obviously I think they're the best team among that grouping. We'll see Philly on Saturday, but I feel like still Milwaukee's at that top. And like I said, it's Chicago. Jimmy can get to his spots. I think Philly, he can draw fouls and get to his spots. Milwaukee's the one team that can throw him off a bit, but I don't think it's as bad as like if you see Milwaukee, Jimmy Butler's a non-factor.
2 free throws for the entire second half. Timothy, 2 free throws.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
and I know his old buddy Wesley Matthews guards him pretty well. So I don't know if it's in his head, if he's. I don't know if it's mental, but Jimmy's probably on the mental thing. I will say that between Matthews and just scheme, they don't have his number, but they just make things a bit more difficult for Jimmy than most teams. I'm not worried. Like between Spo and Lowry and just the team itself, they'll figure it out. Like you said last, I think this loss was important to figure out what needs to be fixed. But my biggest takeaway from last night was Hero and Bam both took and made shots in the fourth quarter. That would build the confidence for them to eventually, when you needed to in the playoffs, if Jimmy doesn't have it, you're not panicking. Okay, let's run something. Like I still don't know how Hero hit that shot over Wesley Matthews. He used 2 screens and he still had no space. And he said so to see that they aren't afraid. Bam gave Portis a jump hook, then a pump fake mid-range jumper. So I'm encouraged by that. But if Hero doesn't turn over that ball, if Gabe gets the ball and bounce, we have a win. Like it's those 2 things. I'm not really like I didn't have a meltdown last night.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't like outplayed by any significant stretch. I mean, Milwaukee shot the ball well. Bring up Jason's comment again because we always read the super chat comments. We appreciate them. Hey guys, I don't understand. It's just one game rhetoric. I heard from some of you yesterday. It's the same Jimmy we saw for 4 games in the playoffs last season. I understand the comment because of Jimmy's struggles. That's why we're discussing it. I mean, there is something against the Milwaukee Bucks that causes him problems. I think it's fairly easy to figure out what it is. But I do think, and I'll pivot to Sean on this. I do think that this team, when healthy, which it has not been, and I'm not even including Oladipo, I'm just saying get Kyle back on the floor, okay? That Kyle is a critical difference in terms of the way they handle late game, poise, okay, which they didn't have last night, which Kyle has as much as any player in the league, but also he helps get Jimmy to the right spots. Otherwise, Jimmy has to get to those spots himself, and he's just not athletically overpowering enough against certain teams to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last night, like Tyler's not your point guard. He can't be that person. You want him in the closing lineup. So that, sorry, I'm moving to get something in my wrong seat. The thing is, like, in the closing lineup, you want somebody else out there to initiate. Let Tyler be the closer. Let him be the scorer. And without Kyle last night, you saw Tyler slowly bring the ball up the floor. We're starting the possession with like 15 on the shot clock, 16 on the shot clock. Getting the last one where he was on the sideline and that turnover, like that's just, he's a young kid. Like he made a mistake. He made 2 very costly mistakes, but we're never there without him. His scoring kept us in the game. So I don't think you overreact to it too much. The other thing I just want to point out is Oladipo's out there moving off of motion, catching and shooting, leaving his feet. So good sign in terms of his recovery.
We're still hearing March 7th, by the way, which is 4 days away. So it's close, okay? That Houston game is the one. I would not expect him Saturday. I also think we could see Markieff Morris back as soon as that Houston game also. It would not stun me if we see both of them.
By the way, that's a big factor to tie into the Bucks series because if we're talking about the Oladipo factor and not putting so much pressure on him in his return or the ceiling of this team rising when he returns, they could use him in a Bucks matchup really well to either dissect that drop and also to be another ball handler. Like if we're talking about what Oladipo can be used for and what the ceiling of him is, it's a Bucks series.
Yep, and he would have been on the floor instead of Gabe last night in that situation without Kyle out there. All right, a couple of things I want to get to. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5 FIVE. Get your initial deposit match. We had a couple signups yesterday. We get signups just about every day. So go to PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. You might have wanted to jump in there about a half hour ago to play Bam and Hero before the Butler news came out, but still, I would play Bam tonight. We know, okay, in all kinds of categories, we know that he plays well in this matchup. There's nobody on that team who can athletically stay with him. Their bigs are old, are not particularly mobile. And Bam should eat tonight. He has to eat tonight. They have no other choice. Okay, so I would play Bam over, and I would find a way to play Tyler over too. Although I just saw that points per game has already spiked 2 points with him, but I would still play it. So go to PrizePicks.com, use the code 5FIVE. One other thing we're going to mention: if you watched us yesterday and you're watching us today, and you're subscribed to Off the Floor, you've got a really good chance to win a T-shirt from us. T-shirt of your choice. Yesterday, the name we used was Alston. For Ray for Alston, I said there would be a B name today. Heat legend Luke Babbitt. That's the second one. So Alston and Babbitt, you need both, but you also got to show me in a screenshot. You can send it to the 5 Reasons account on Twitter. You also got to, he was a starter for a while on a team that went 30-11 in the second half. I don't want to hear it, Manny. I don't know what happened to him. But you've got to be subscribed. Actually, Hubie Brown would have been a good B choice too. You got to be subscribed to Off the Floor if you're going to win the T-shirt. Okay, so I need Alston, Babbitt, and you got to be subscribed to Off the Floor. You send that screenshot to me, and you will win a T-shirt. First one who does it. All right, let's get to the picks tonight. Obviously, it's a much different situation. I know, Sean, again, there's so many rabid Nets fans all around you. They're just preparing. They're getting their lungs ready for the Let's Go Heat chant that they typically get into in the start of the fourth quarter. I'm going to let you go first so you can dip. What do you think happens tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I was here in November when we won. I don't know what Brady thinks. I think we lean into the 3-ball tonight. You got all your shooters, get up a lot of threes, maybe be more aggressive defensively. If Caleb is active, press up there with him and Gabe, and just see what happens. If you can hold down Durant, I think you got a chance, but I'll say Heat by 2. Last second shot by a man, Duncan Robinson.
Oh, I knew you were. So Duncan's going to be on the floor at the end. Look at that. Okay. You could have made a case for him last night too. Timmy, what do you think before I go to Brady?
Yeah, definitely. Once we play, we know what this team does when they have their shooters, but it's going to be a close one because KD is like one of the best scorers in the world. So about a 4 to 5 point game, and I think Hero will have the game high.
All right, Brady.
Yeah, the reason why I do agree about the 3-point shooting is because when you look at a team without Kyle and without Jimmy, there's just no attackers. Like if we're looking at the lineups they're going to run, they don't have the drive and kick options. They don't have the pick and roll dissection options other than what Gabe's been really good at and Tyler's been good at. They'll probably stagger them a bit at least to try to keep them with some shooters around them and let them do their thing. But they're going to have to get a bunch of threes up. If Max can continue it, Duncan can continue it. If Gabe can continue it, it was kind of funny because we talked about so many things negatively in the pod last night. Like Gabe Vincent coming out and hitting 3 straight possessions of 3 in the third quarter. Like he's been insane stepping up for Kyle Lowry. So I think if they can get that, as you mentioned before, I think it all comes down to Bam. I think Aldridge is going to be on him a lot. He needs to take advantage of that matchup. They need to give him early some post splits, give him some isolations, let him go into his face up and attack. And I think the Miami Heat win.
Well, I called the split of these 2 games, and I would have probably held to that if the Heat had closed that thing out yesterday. So I'm going to hold to it now. I think they can win tonight. I really do. I actually think in some ways, and I'm not saying they're better off without Jimmy Butler, but I kind of feel like tonight it's okay, honestly. The way that he looked last night, I think getting the young, aggressive guys out there, the former two-ways, the minimum guys out there spacing the floor with Bam, I feel like clearing the path for Bam tonight, where he doesn't have to worry about Jimmy or anything else. This feels like a Bam Tyler game. Like this is the future for this franchise, Bam and Tyler. And we saw, as Timmy mentioned, we saw it at the end last night. Bam made that jump hook, and you're like, wow, okay, that's what you want to see. I think we see it tonight. And this team is prideful. That was a tough loss last night. They're going to have some backing in the arena tonight. I feel like they pull this one off. I don't feel good about Saturday. I don't, for a whole bunch of reasons, but I think they get this one. I do think they get this. And I think KD will be great. But honestly, like you said, other than Cam Thomas and probably Goran will have a spurt or two, I don't see a lot on that roster right now, honestly. So I think the Heat win tonight. Or go to prizemix.com, use the code 5, markbrownpa.com for all of your needs. You need an estate plan or you need your title taken care of, either closing. And also our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing. You needed a few of those after last night's game. Thanks to Manny Chang for producing. Happy birthday week, Manny, since I haven't mentioned it enough times. and I'll be on the pod later tonight. Sign up for Off the Floor. Just go to my Twitter account. I'm going to tweet it out 12 times. Okay, have a good night.